Imagine a world where marriage was a battlefield, not a fairy tale. For women in the Middle Ages, marriage meant survival, not romance. Every step was risky. Her life and choices were never her own. Wedding vows marked the start of a struggle, not a promise of love. These women's stories are rarely told, but their struggle was constant. Marriage, meant to protect, often became another kind of prison. It was a contract between men. Women were pawns, bridges, or sources of heirs. Their dreams and feelings were ignored. The world demanded their silence and obedience. Behind the myths of knights and castles, women built the world with their endurance. Their lives were short, filled with danger and hardship. From birth, their path led to a marriage that defined their existence. This is not a story of queens, but of ordinary women fighting to survive. Their daily struggle shaped history, even if it went unrecognized. By understanding their world, we honor their strength. Their journey was a battle for survival. Let's look beyond the myths and see the true nature of medieval marriage. This is the story of women who endured against overwhelming odds. Their resilience laid the foundation for the world we know. Their story deserves to be told. In medieval times, a woman's marriage was a business deal, not a choice. Families, especially fathers, arranged marriages for power, land, or alliances. The girl, often as young as 12, had no say. She might marry a stranger, sometimes much older or cruel. Her duty was to obey, regardless of her own wishes. A good marriage meant more for the family than for the daughter. Her happiness was a luxury no one considered. The dowry, a payment of land, money, or goods, sealed the deal. A woman's value was measured by what she brought to her new family. Love was never part of the calculation. If affection grew, it was by chance, not design. Refusing a chosen match brought shame and few alternatives. Becoming a nun required money. Most had no choice but marriage. This lack of agency was the first hardship women faced. Their lives were shaped by others' ambitions. The system left women powerless, their futures traded away. Marriage was a transaction, not a union of hearts. The woman's will was suppressed from the start. Her path was chosen for her, and she had to endure it. This was the reality for countless medieval women. Their struggle began with the loss of choice. Marriage erased a woman's legal identity. Under coverture, she became part of her husband. No property, no contracts, no voice. Everything she owned or earned became his. She was in essence his property. This system kept power and wealth in male hands. A woman's survival depended entirely on her husband's character. If he was cruel or irresponsible, she had no escape. Divorce was nearly impossible. She was trapped. Her life was a gamble, with the odds stacked against her. Women learned to influence quietly, never openly challenging authority. They had to be strong in private, invisible in public. The psychological toll was immense. Powerlessness became their reality. Yet, from the legal shadow of their husbands, women found ways to survive. They protected their children and managed their households with cunning. Their strength was hidden, but vital. The law made them invisible, but their resilience shaped families and communities. In losing their identity, they found new ways to endure. Pregnancy and childbirth were the most dangerous times for medieval women. Without modern medicine, every birth was a gamble with death. Complications like bleeding or infection were often fatal. Women had no control over their reproductive lives, no birth control, constant pregnancies. Many gave birth to 10 or more children, with few surviving infancy. Each pregnancy drained their bodies, leaving them vulnerable. The birthing room was a world of women, but knowledge was limited. Midwives did their best, but major emergencies were often hopeless. The act that defined a woman's value, bearing children, was also her greatest risk. She was expected to produce heirs, yet each attempt threatened her life. The constant threat of death shaped every aspect of her existence. Fertility was both her duty and her danger. This was the harsh biological reality of medieval womanhood. Once married, a woman lived under her husband's absolute authority. The church and state demanded her obedience. Her primary duty was to serve, manage the household, and raise children. Physical discipline was legal. A husband could beat his wife. The rule of thumb normalized domestic violence. Women had no protection. Running away was illegal. Communities sided with husbands, blaming wives for disobedience. Women were trapped, forced to endure whatever treatment they received. Their safety depended on reading their husband's moods and avoiding conflict. This constant negotiation created a life of fear and submission. The psychological burden was immense. It was a life lived in the shadow of another's power. Life in the Middle Ages was a daily struggle against hunger and disease. Women, weakened by childbirth and poor nutrition, were especially vulnerable. Food was scarce and the best went to men. Malnutrition made women more susceptible to illness. Epidemics like plague and smallpox killed millions. Women were often first to fall. As caregivers, they faced constant exposure to disease. Physical labor was relentless. Fields, home, children, and crafts. Most women died young, their bodies worn out by constant demands. Many children grew up motherless. Men remarried often. The female body was pushed to its limits and beyond. Survival required incredible toughness. This was the brutal reality for medieval women. Medieval women were taught that suffering was virtuous. The church said pain, especially in childbirth, was punishment for Eve's sin. Women were told to endure hardships silently as a path to salvation. Complaining was seen as sinful. Patience and obedience were praised. This belief became a mental cage, discouraging women from seeking better treatment. Some found comfort in faith, but it was also a tool of control. Women learned to turn suffering inward, finding strength in endurance. Their resilience was a quiet form of resistance. They became the emotional pillars of their families, enduring in silence. Medieval women survived a world of hardship, with no choice, no rights, and constant danger. Yet they endured and held families together. Their strength was quiet but unbreakable, a resilience born of necessity. They were not passive victims but active survivors and strategists. Their influence shaped homes and communities, even if history overlooked them. Their endurance laid the groundwork for future generations. Their story reminds us of the importance of choice and equality. We owe them our deepest respect for their silent, powerful legacy.